In the vibrant village of Umuahia, Ede faces a life-changing choice between the genuine love of her childhood friend Wale and the enticing promises of the enigmatic Chidi. Her journey through love, deception, and redemption teaches profound lessons about true wealth and happiness. Join us in this captivating African folktale. Can you imagine the moment Ada stood at the crossroads, choosing between Wale's familiar love and Chidi's alluring promises? In the heart of the vibrant village of Umuahia, a sense of excitement filled the air. The Okafor family was expecting a new addition, and the entire village eagerly awaited the arrival of the baby. Mr. Okafor, a tall and sturdy man with a warm smile and kind eyes, was a respected farmer in the village. His wife, Mrs. Okafor, known for her gentle nature and wisdom, was beloved by everyone. One bright morning, as the sun began to rise over the lush green hills surrounding Umuahia, Mrs. Okafor went into labor. The village midwife, Mama Nkechi, a woman with years of experience and a heart full of compassion, arrived at their modest home to assist with the birth. The Okafor household was filled with a mix of anxious anticipation and hopeful excitement. As the hours passed, the sound of Mrs. Okafor's labor pains echoed through the small house. Mr. Okafor paced back and forth outside, his heart pounding with both worry and anticipation. The women of the village gathered around, offering prayers and support, their faces etched with concern and hope. Finally, as the sun reached its zenith, a new cry filled the air. It was the cry of a newborn baby girl, strong and healthy. Mama Nkechi emerged from the house, her face beaming with joy. She held the baby in her arms, wrapped in a soft cloth, and announced, "It's a girl. A beautiful, healthy girl." The villagers erupted in cheers and ululations, their hearts filled with joy. Mr. Okafor rushed inside to see his wife and their newborn daughter. He knelt beside Mrs. Okafor, who was exhausted but radiant with happiness. They both gazed at their baby girl, their eyes filled with tears of joy. "What shall we name her?" Mr. Okafor asked softly, his voice choked with emotion. "Ada," Mrs. Okafor replied, her voice barely a whisper. "She shall be called Ada, for she is our first daughter and a blessing from the gods." From that moment on, Ada became the light of the Okafor household. She grew up surrounded by love and care, her parents doting on her and teaching her the values of hard work, kindness, and respect. The village of Umuahia also embraced her, watching her grow with pride and admiration. Ada was an exceptional child from the start. By the time she could walk and talk, it was clear that she had inherited her parents' intelligence and diligence. She was curious about everything around her, always asking questions and seeking to learn more. Her parents encouraged her curiosity, providing her with books and teaching her about the world beyond their village. At home, Ada was a diligent helper. She assisted her mother with household chores, learning to cook, clean, and take care of the animals. She followed her father to the fields, eager to understand the intricacies of farming. Her small hands would mimic his movements as he tended to the crops, and her laughter would fill the air as she played in the dirt. In school, Ada excelled in her studies. She was always at the top of her class, her teachers praising her for her intelligence and dedication. She was not only book smart but also wise beyond her years, often surprising adults with her insightful questions and thoughtful answers. As the years went by, Ada grew into a beautiful young girl, her presence brightening the lives of everyone around her. She was known for her kindness and generosity, always ready to help a friend or neighbor in need. Her parents' hearts swelled with pride as they watched their daughter blossom into a remarkable young woman. Ada's best friend, Wale, was a boy from the same village who shared her values and work ethic. They had grown up together, their friendship rooted in a deep understanding and mutual respect. Wale was a gentle and hardworking boy, always by Ada's side, whether in the classroom or the fields. Their bond was unbreakable, and as they grew older, it became clear that their friendship was turning into something deeper. But life, as it often does, had its own plans. Ada's journey was just beginning, and the choices she would make in the coming years would shape not only her destiny but also the lessons she would learn along the way. In the village of Umuahia, friendships were forged in the fields and classrooms, where the children of the village spent their days learning and playing together. Among these friendships, none was as strong as the bond between Ada and Wale. From a young age, they were inseparable, their lives intertwined like the roots of the ancient Iroko trees that dotted the landscape. Wale was a bright and energetic boy, with a mischievous grin that seemed to be a permanent fixture on his face. His laughter was infectious, and his kindness knew no bounds. He came from a humble background, much like Ada, and his family valued hard work and integrity above all else. His father, a skilled carpenter, had taught Wale the value of craftsmanship and dedication, lessons that Wale took to heart. The first time Ada and Wale met was on a sunny afternoon at the village school. Ada, always eager to learn, was engrossed in a book when Wale approached her with a broad smile and an outstretched hand. "Hi, I'm Wale. What's your name?" he asked, his eyes twinkling with curiosity. Ada looked up, momentarily startled by his boldness, but quickly returned his smile. "I'm Ada. Nice to meet you, Wale." From that moment on, they were fast friends. They sat together in class, shared their lunches, and partnered up for school projects. Their teachers often praised their teamwork and camaraderie, noting how their combined efforts brought out the best in each other. Outside of school, Ada and Wale explored the village and its surroundings together. They would spend hours running through the fields, their laughter echoing through the air as they played games and shared stories. Ada loved listening to Wale's tales about his father's woodworking and the intricacies of carpentry. In return, she shared her dreams of becoming a teacher one day, inspired by the kindness and wisdom of her own teachers. One of their favorite spots was a small clearing near the river, shaded by a cluster of palm trees. They would often sit there, their feet dangling in the cool water, talking about their hopes and dreams. It was a place where they felt free to be themselves, away from the expectations and responsibilities of their families. As they grew older, their friendship deepened. They supported each other through the challenges of adolescence, offering a shoulder to cry on during tough times and celebrating each other's successes. Wale was always there to help Ada with her chores, whether it was fetching water from the well or helping her mother with the harvest. In return, Ada would assist Wale with his studies, her patience and intelligence helping him grasp difficult concepts. Their bond did not go unnoticed by the villagers. Many elders would smile knowingly when they saw Ada and Wale together, remarking on how they seemed destined for each other. "They make a fine pair," Mama Getchi would say, her eyes twinkling with wisdom. Together, they will achieve great things. However, life in the village was not without its challenges. As they approached their late teens, the pressures of adulthood began to weigh on them. Ada's parents expected her to excel in her studies and take on more responsibilities at home, while Wale's father wanted him to become a skilled carpenter and take over the family business. Despite these pressures, Ada and Wale remained steadfast in their friendship. They continued to support each other, their bond growing stronger with each passing day. Their love for each other, though unspoken, was evident in their actions and the way they looked out for one another. One day, the peaceful rhythm of Umuahia was disrupted by the arrival of a sleek, shiny car that roared into the village, drawing the attention of everyone. It was an uncommon sight in their humble surroundings. The villagers gathered, whispering and pointing, as a well-dressed young man stepped out. It was Chidi, an old classmate who had left the village years ago. Chidi had transformed dramatically since his departure. He wore expensive clothes and sported an air of confidence and success that was hard to ignore. The children stared in awe, and the adults exchanged curious glances. Chidi's return sparked excitement and envy in equal measure. Ada and Wale stood among the onlookers, their hands intertwined as they watched Chidi greet the villagers with a broad smile. Ada's eyes widened with surprise and curiosity, while Wale's expression remained cautious. "Is that really Chidi?" Ada whispered, her voice filled with wonder. "It seems so," Wale replied, a hint of unease in his voice. Chidi approached them with open arms, his charismatic presence hard to resist. "Ada. Wale. It's been so long," he exclaimed, embracing them both. As the days passed, Chidi's tales of success and stories of the luxurious city life captivated Ada. He promised her a future filled with wealth and comfort, far beyond what she had ever imagined. Despite Wale's warnings and her parents' cautionary advice, Ada found herself drawn to Chidi's promises, her heart torn between the familiarity of Wale's love and the allure of Chidi's glittering world. As days turned into weeks, Chidi's presence in Umuahia became a source of fascination for many, but none were more captivated than Ada. Chidi's stories of the city, filled with luxury and ease, painted a stark contrast to the simplicity of village life. His charm was irresistible, and he seemed to have a magnetic pull that Ada found increasingly hard to resist. Chidi often visited Ada's home, bringing gifts and sharing tales of his supposed grand achievements. He promised her a life of abundance, one where she would never have to worry about chores or hard work again. He spoke of grand houses, fine clothes, and an easy life that Ada had only dreamed of. "Ada, you are too beautiful and talented to waste your life here in the village," Chidi would say, his voice smooth and convincing. "Come with me to the city, and I will give you the life you deserve." Ada's parents, Mr. and Mrs. Okafor, grew increasingly concerned. They saw the change in their daughter, the way her eyes lit up when Chidi spoke, and the growing distance between her and Wale. They knew Chidi's type, having seen many young men come and go with promises that often led to heartbreak and regret. "Ada, my daughter, you must be careful," her mother warned, her voice gentle but firm. "Chidi's words are sweet, but you must remember the values we have taught you. Wealth is not everything." Wale, too, tried to reason with Ada. He saw how Chidi's promises were affecting her and felt a growing fear that he might lose the woman he loved. "Ada, you know me. You know how hard I am working to build a future for us," Wale pleaded. "Don't be swayed by false promises. True happiness comes from love and hard work, not material wealth." But Ada's heart was torn. She loved Wale, but Chidi's vision of a glamorous life was enticing. She found herself daydreaming about the city, imagining herself in elegant dresses, living in a grand house, and enjoying the comforts that Chidi described. The temptation was strong, and despite her parents' and Wale's warnings, she continued to see Chidi. One evening, Under the light of the full moon, Chidi made his boldest move yet. He took Ada for a drive in his borrowed car, taking her to a scenic spot overlooking the village. As they sat together, he turned to her, his eyes locking onto hers with intensity. "Ada, come with me to the city," Chidi urged, his voice soft and persuasive. "Leave this village life behind. I promise you, you will never regret it." Ada's heart raced. The pull of Chidi's promises was almost overwhelming. She knew what was at stake, yet the allure of a different life, one filled with glamour and ease, was too tempting to ignore. That night, as she lay in bed, Ada's mind was a whirlwind of conflicting emotions. The love she had for Wale battled with the seductive promises of Chidi's world. She was at a crossroads, one that would define her future and test the very core of her values and beliefs. The day Ada made her decision was one of the most difficult of her life. She could no longer ignore the allure of the life Chidi promised. With a heavy heart, she packed a small bag with her most treasured belongings and wrote a note for her parents and Wale, explaining her decision. She left it on the kitchen table, her hands trembling as she placed it down. Tears streamed down her face, but she steeled herself, convinced she was making the right choice. As night fell, Ada quietly slipped out of her home and made her way to the edge of the village where Chidi was waiting in his car. The moon cast a silver glow over the village, and Ada took one last look at her home before getting into the car. The engine roared to life, and they sped away, leaving behind the familiar and venturing into the unknown. The journey to the city was long and filled with nervous anticipation. Ada watched the landscape change from lush, green fields to bustling streets and towering buildings. The city was unlike anything she had ever seen, and her heart fluttered with a mix of excitement and fear. When they arrived, Chidi took Ada to a small, run-down apartment. It was a far cry from the grand house he had described, but Ada, eager to please and make the best of her decision, tried to ignore the sinking feeling in her stomach. She consoled herself with Chidi's promises that this was only temporary, that soon they would move to a better place. Ada was unfortunately deflowered by Chidi despite her making a vow that she won't be deflowered until after marriage. This caused her a great deal of sorrow. The first few days in the city were a blur. Chidi introduced Ada to his friends, who were not the wealthy businessmen she had imagined, but rather a group of struggling individuals trying to make ends meet. Ada quickly realized that Chidi's promises were empty. The car and the clothes were borrowed, and Chidi himself was barely scraping by. One evening, as Ada was cooking dinner in their cramped kitchen, Chidi came home looking distressed. He sat her down and confessed the truth. "Ada, I haven't been honest with you," he began, his voice filled with regret. "I am not the wealthy man I pretended to be. The car, the clothes, everything. I borrowed it all to impress you." Ada's heart sank. She felt a wave of anger and betrayal wash over her. "Why did you lie to me, Chidi?" she asked, her voice trembling. "I left everything behind for you. I wanted you to choose me over Wale," Chidi admitted. "I thought if you saw me as successful, you would come with me." "I'm sorry, Ada." The harsh reality of her situation hit Ada like a punch to the gut. Chidi was not only poor but also married with 5 children, all of whom were struggling. The life of luxury he had promised was a lie, and Ada found herself trapped in a difficult and unforgiving city, far from the safety and comfort of her village. Days turned into weeks, and Ada struggled to survive. She took on menial jobs, cleaning houses and washing clothes, barely earning enough to get by. The city was harsh and unforgiving, a stark contrast to the idyllic life Chidi had painted. The dream had turned into a nightmare. Ada often thought of her parents and Wale, wondering how they were coping with her sudden departure. She missed them terribly and regretted her decision more with each passing day. The weight of her choices bore down on her, and she longed for the simplicity and warmth of her village. One day, after a particularly grueling day of work, Ada made a decision. She could no longer live this way. She gathered her meager belongings, left a note for Chidi, and boarded a bus back to Umuahia. The journey home was filled with anxiety and uncertainty, but Ada knew she had to face the consequences of her actions. As the bus pulled into the familiar streets of Umuahia, Ada's heart pounded in her chest. She was unsure of the reception she would receive, but she knew she had to return home and seek forgiveness. Stepping off the bus, she took a deep breath and walked towards her family's home, hoping that they would welcome her back despite her mistakes. Ada's heart was a whirlwind of emotions as the bus rolled into Umuahia. The familiar sights and sounds of the village brought tears to her eyes. She had left seeking adventure and wealth, but all she found was hardship and regret. She had learned her lesson the hard way, and now, all she wanted was the comfort of home. As she walked through the village, Ada noticed the curious glances from the villagers. Whispers followed her, but she kept her head high, determined to face whatever awaited her. She had to find the courage to confront her family and ask for their forgiveness. Reaching her family's compound, Ada hesitated at the gate. The memories of her departure, the note she had left behind, and the pain she had caused flooded her mind. With a deep breath, she pushed open the gate and stepped inside. Her mother, Mrs. Okafor, was in the courtyard, hanging laundry. She turned at the sound of the gate and froze when she saw Ada. For a moment, there was silence, and then tears welled up in Mrs. Okafor's eyes. She dropped the clothes and ran to her daughter, enveloping her in a tight embrace. "Ada, my child," Mrs. Okafor sobbed, holding her daughter close. "You're home. You're finally home." Ada clung to her mother, tears streaming down her face. "Mama, I'm so sorry," she whispered. "I was foolish and proud. I made a terrible mistake. Can you ever forgive me?" Mr. Okafor emerged from the house, his eyes widening in surprise at the sight of his daughter. Without a word, he joined the embrace, his strong arms wrapping around them both. "Welcome home, Ada," he said softly, his voice filled with emotion. "We've missed you." Ada's siblings gathered around, their faces a mix of joy and relief. They welcomed her back with open arms, their love and forgiveness overwhelming her. Despite the shame and guilt she felt, Ada realized that her family's love was unconditional. The village soon heard of Ada's return, and people came to see her, offering words of comfort and support. Mama Nkechi, the village midwife, gave Ada a knowing smile. "Welcome back, child. We all make mistakes. What's important is that you've returned." One evening, as the family sat together, Ada told them everything about her time in the city. She spoke of Chidi's deceit, the hardships she faced, and the lessons she learned. Her parents listened intently, their expressions a mix of sadness and understanding. "We warned you, Ada," Mr. Okafor said gently. "But we are glad you have come back to us. You are always welcome here, no matter what." Ada's heart swelled with gratitude and love. She felt a renewed sense of purpose and determination to make amends for her mistakes. She helped around the house, took on responsibilities with fervor, and slowly began to rebuild her life. One day, Ada learned that Wale had become very prosperous. He had worked tirelessly, and his hard work had paid off. He was now a successful farmer and businessman, respected and admired by all. However, Ada also discovered that Wale was happily married. The news brought a bittersweet feeling to Ada's heart. She was happy for Wale, but she couldn't help but feel the sting of lost love. She had let go of a true and honest relationship for the illusion of wealth, and now she had to live with that decision. Ada decided to meet Wale, to apologize and seek his forgiveness. She found him at his new house, a beautiful home filled with the laughter of children and the warmth of family. Wale greeted her with a kind smile, his eyes still holding the gentle nature she remembered. "Well, I am so sorry for everything," Ada began, her voice trembling. "I was blind to what truly mattered, and I hurt you. Can you ever forgive me?" Wale looked at Ada, his expression thoughtful. "Ada, we all make choices in life. Some lead to joy, others to regret. I forgave you a long time ago. I hope you find peace and happiness." With those words, Ada felt a weight lift off her shoulders. She had faced her past and sought forgiveness, and now she could move forward. She realized that true wealth was not in material possessions but in the love and support of family and friends. Ada, having returned to her village of Umuahia, reflects on the valuable lessons she has learned. She realizes that true wealth lies in the love and support of family and friends, the importance of hard work and integrity, and the power of forgiveness. Sharing these lessons with her family and village, Ada becomes a source of inspiration, particularly to the younger generation. She fulfills her dream of becoming a teacher, imparting the wisdom she gained from her journey. Ada's story serves as a timeless reminder of the significance of love, trust, and perseverance. Thank you for joining us in this journey through Ada's story. If you enjoyed this tale and found its lessons meaningful, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Your support helps us continue bringing you more captivating stories filled with wisdom and tradition. Until next time, stay tuned and keep the stories alive.